Hey y'all, it's time for another episode of What's Cheering Me Up Right Now? I am really excited about filming this today because I didn't realize that I was ready. I feel like it hasn't been that long since I filmed What's Cheering Me Up Right Now, or maybe just hasn't been as long as it was between the one before that and the most recent one. But suddenly today I kind of started making the list and it just started snowballing, and all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna film it today. I'm ready. So it's fresh. I'm really excited to share all of the things with you. There are some super good ones. I just feel like the list is stacked today. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. My name is Hannah and I love beautiful things, but I don't love overspending. I've struggled with it in the past. So here on my channel, it's like, yeah, you can really add value to your life by curating your belongings and sometimes even by buying stuff. But it's really important not to get carried away with that and to go overboard, because then that will just spoil everything. So if that sounds good to you, then subscribe to my channel, yo. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So as I said, I was like getting really excited and like writing everything down, and that meant that as usual, it came out in no particular order. And in fact, the first thing on the list is something that is the type of thing that I don't usually talk about, but it has been bringing me so much joy that I just have to mention it. And that's like it's like a beauty thing that I bought. So this is what I do in place of traditional favorites videos. A lot of times on favorites videos, people are like, these are all the things that are new to me that I just started testing this month that have been my favorites. And I don't want to do that. What is going on? My computer started doing things by itself. I hate that technology. Leave me alone. Anyway, I do talk in so many videos about the things that I enjoy, that are things that came in PR or things that I bought myself. I have whole videos dedicated to things that I buy with my beauty budget, etc., etc. So usually in these videos, I'm not like, and I've really been loving the new Charlotte Tilbury blush, because it's like, you already know. But I feel like with this one, you're kind of due for an update, especially because it has actually been bringing me a lot of joy, and that's these press-on nails. I was so skeptical of whether press-on nails would integrate into my life very well, because I didn't want to be dealing with them like popping off all the time, and I didn't want them to like look yucky or be messy, and I wasn't sure. I gave it a try. I bought one or two of the static nails sets a couple of months ago to test out as like a YouTube channel video. And even after I filmed the video and I was able to report back on like the quality of them, and that was very detailed, so I'll link that video rather than trying to like summarize it now. But even after filming that, I was still kind of like, yeah, there are these pros and cons. And I also wasn't totally sure how it would go, like cycling through different pairs and taking them off and putting them on, all that stuff. But I can report back that now at this moment, after having had several pairs for several weeks, and then I did get some referral credits because some people clicked through it's like a regular customer rewards points program, not an influencer thing, but some of you clicked through that link and bought some of the nails. And so then I redeemed some of those points and got a couple of more sets of them. And one of them is actually the pair that I have on now. So now I have, I think like I think that's right. I think I have 4 different sets of them. And so I've been able to like put a different color on. I had those like long periwinkle ones on for a while. These ones are like a short square length. This is what they call extra short. This seems to me like the right length of like a long nail for me. So their short is really quite long. Their medium is completely unwearable for me. Those were the original ones I tried to put on and had to file them down. I really like this extra short length. I wish it came in round, because square nails aren't like my favorite, but I just think these look beautiful. Anyway, I'm not doing a good job of telling you why it's cheering me up so much. Here's why. After my initial experience with the smoke show nails that I stuck on with a ton of glue and like really applied, because I was like, I want these to last as long as possible. I can't stand it when my nails pop off, and I don't like having it when some are off and some are on. And I was like, I just want them to be like, set in stone. Like, well, it's not stone because it's my hands, but I was like, I just want them to be like 100% super glued on for as long as humanly possible. They did stay on pretty well. I was really impressed by them. But then as they started to loosen after about a week, as 1 or 2 of them started to loosen, I didn't like the fact that I'd stuck them on so hard, because it was hard to get some of the other ones off. So then the next time I just applied them with the tiniest dot of glue, just like the tiniest dot in the center of the nail. And then the periwinkle nails, they end up staying on really strong for like 4 or 5 days anyway, like just the tiniest dot of glue, and they weren't popping off all over the place. It was great. The glue is really good. And then when it came time to take them off, I was able to just pop them all off and there was no damage to my nail and no problem. And the glue had only really been adhering to the center of the nail. It hadn't like adhered to the entire nail. There wasn't glue all over my entire nail. So it was way less potential for damage, way less fuss, way less strife, and they're just change outable. So now I feel like I have, like I got a red pair, I got these beige ones, and I have those periwinkle ones, and now I also have some nail polish. So now I feel like I can just switch out my nails constantly the way that I like switch out my earrings. And I didn't know that that was a thing that I would enjoy so much. I mean, I hesitate to say this, but I'm almost kind of starting to feel like I like it even better than gel extensions, which is what I was doing before, because they're just so versatile. And if I want to do like 1 or 2 days of like a ton of typing, I can type pretty well with the nails. They don't really bother me, but I have the option to like pop them all off and just go au naturel for a couple days and just like dig into that typing work and have it be like as comfortable as possible. And I really like having that option too. And you can't do that with gel nails. It's just like once they're on, they're on. So that's been really delightful. And then lastly, my natural nails are growing out underneath them. In a way, I'm like using them as protectants for my natural nails. And I think when my natural nails get long enough, I'll be able to use some of the nail polish to paint them instead of just painting the pop-on nails. So it's been like a sleeper hit. Like I got them, I wore them, I did the whole review, I did all of this stuff. And all of a sudden this week, after having kind of like felt my way through the process and tried a couple of different styles, all of a sudden, if you asked me today, like what's really cheering you up, I would be like, oh, those pop-on nails, they're just like the best. I'm so excited that I decided to try them and I'm so happy that I'm doing that. So that's just, it was unexpected. It's been super fun. It was one of the things that motivated me to want to film this video. The other thing is another makeup. The next thing is another makeup, not the other, because there's a bunch of others. But the next thing is another like makeup thing that I've also referenced recently in a video. It's this little custom palette that I built for myself. So I filmed recently one of those videos that was like, clean up my mess with me and also build a custom palette. So I organized this, I put the camera on my desk. I didn't put the camera on my desk, but like I angled the camera at my desk and I just filmed my hands as I sorted through the stuff that I've been keeping in the little box right here to be like my everyday makeup box basically. And then at the end, I built this little palette because I've just been craving doing more simple neutral looks lately, and I just wanted to like have my exact perfect things right at hand. So every day since I filmed that, when I've sat down to, not even like many of them haven't been filming days, so I've just been sitting down to like quickly like reduce a little redness in my skin. I'm not even trying to like put on a makeup look. I'm just like giving myself a moment to, you know, meditatively like take care of my skin, maybe put on a tiny bit of makeup. And then I'm like so excited because I'm like, oh my God, my little custom palette. And some days I've just been doing like a little bit of this sparkle all over the lid and then the tiniest bit of brown, or even sometimes this brownish cinnamon color, cinnamony pink, cinnamony, it's kind of like a brown, like a cinnamon rose. Or even this lighter camel color in the outer corner just for a tiny bit of matte dimension. But those have been really simple washes, like really simple, easy looks that I don't feel like made up if I'm just around the house doing stuff. I've just taken a ton of pleasure in using this little palette to do that. And I'm wearing it today. I think I have actually used it every time I have filmed since then. For this, I just put this creamy bronze shimmer all over. And then I put a little bit of the glitter on my brow bone, and I used some of the mattes just to build a tiny bit of dimension into the outer corner, but not the black. It's like pretty soft. And I love it. This creamy metallic brown, when I filmed that, I was creating this palette and I was like, I don't really know what this is because it doesn't have a label on the back. I think it might be an old Morphe shadow. I think it was either in the 35O that I depotted ages ago or the Jaclyn Hill, the original Jaclyn Hill palette that I depotted. But in any case, it's got that kind of oily, rich creaminess of some of those metallics, some of those old Morphe metallics. And so I've really been enjoying it. It's got a little bit of ruddiness to it. So this is just bringing me endless joy, endless joy. And I feel like there are a lot of palettes like this on the market. Like someone was saying in the comments, it's a little bit like the Wayne Goss palette. I feel like There are a number of like holiday special, like makeup for normal people, like releases like this, little quads or little 6-pan palettes that are coming out. Just like iteration upon iteration of like a neutrals palette that can go glam or can go daytime. And none of them would bring me as much joy as this one does, the one that I built myself. And I was able to throw in a little bit of something interesting with this rosy color and this light camel color. So it's just been the best. So, so glad that I did this. And it has really been cheering me up. And it's also been stimulating me to do a little bit more for myself makeup wise, even on non-filming days. And that's always good. It's always good for me to have a little bit of that. All right, now we're getting into like the stuff, the tea, the real recommendations. And the next one is a television show. You guys, I feel like this might be, again, it's kind of a sleeper, unexpectedly the most urgent recommendation. Although I don't know if everyone will love it as much as I do. Like I don't know. The reason that I feel really urgent about it is that I loved it so much. Like the weeks during which I was binge watching the 2 seasons of this television show I'm about to tell you about were like the happiest weeks of my pandemic because it gave me so much joy. But the other thing is that I had known about the show for a long time and I hadn't been led to actually watch it by the advertising, even though it promised to be something I would like. There was something about the way it was advertised that made me skeptical. And that's why I want to give you like an actual recommendation, because someone gave me a recommendation that is what caused me to actually follow through with starting to watch it. So the show is called The Umbrella Academy. It's on Netflix. And they knew what they were doing when they targeted me with their advertising way back when the show first aired, which I think might have been like over a year ago, because there are now 2 seasons. Like it's probably old news. Maybe all of you guys have already watched it. But I remember seeing the advertising and, they knew what they were doing. They were like, Hannah Louise Poston loves this shit. And they were right, because it's like superhero mutant stuff with also very irreverent kind of Royal Tenenbaums. And it's like a little bit future past time travel business. It's like the time traveler's wife meets the Royal Tenenbaums, meets the X-Men, kind of. And yeah, I love those kinds of things. So I remember watching some ads for it and being like, and then I just felt like something was a little off. I was like, I couldn't really tell what the tenor of the show was. There was something about the way that it was being previewed, like in its previews, that made me think that it was going to be sort of hollow inside, like it was talking a big game, but there wouldn't be like the substance of character development and plot to back it up. So I just kind of wrote it off based on no evidence, and I never got into watching it. And then recently, my friend Shori, whose opinion I really trust on things like this, she was like, you have to watch this show. So I started watching it, and I indeed loved it with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. And it's very delightful in like a silly way. There's also something, did you guys see Knives Out, that movie? It was so good, especially if you're a fan of murder mysteries. There's also something a little bit Knives Out about it. It's like the Royal Tenenbaums meets X-Men meets Knives Out meets the time traveler's wife. It really is. It's like they all had a baby together. So if any of that sounds good to you, and if you haven't checked out The Umbrella Academy, either because you've never heard of it or for the same reasons as I, like if you were like a little bit suspicious about what it was promising, just put those concerns aside and go and watch the first couple of episodes, because they really did it. And I think that the characters are what sold it. The characters are what really sold it for me, that they cast it very well. And then each of the characters has a lot of quirk, and it's also a bit dark. It's really quite dark, so it doesn't feel like shiny and Pollyanna-y, and in that way it feels like a good choice for these troubled times, these unprecedented times. So yeah, just The Umbrella Academy has really been cheering me up. Strong recommend. I would watch it again like right away, and that never is a thing for me. When I've finished watching something, I'm like, I need to wait until it's been so long that I've aged and I've literally forgotten everything that happened, and then I'll watch it again. Like that is usually my standard. So for me to be like, I would turn around and watch it again tomorrow because it was so delightful, that's big. It's a big deal for me. Okay, next on the list, this might be the thing I'm most excited about on this list. So at the Umbrella Academy, I feel is like the thing that I was the most excited, the TV show, the like watching media consumption thing that I've been the most excited to tell you about ever. But this next thing on the list is the thing I'm most excited to tell you about today. A recipe, the green soup from Ottolenghi Simple. So Ottolenghi is a cook, a chef whose recipes I really like. I have one of his cookbooks. Oh, I keep putting my hands down loudly on the table. I have one of his cookbooks. It's called Simple. And the idea is that they're simple recipes or sort of quick recipes, which it's like some of the recipes, yes, some of them no, but this one definitely yes. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to tell you right now how it goes down cooking this, so that you will understand its brilliance. And then if you go and get the recipe, which I will link, and make it at home, then you will taste it and then you will once again understand its brilliance. But for me to really like love a recipe, it doesn't just have to taste good, because I have to say I've made some other things recently, in particular an amazing slow cooked chicken recipe from the same cookbook that like I feel like in terms of taste sensation and in terms of me being like I'm totally going to make this again, it's equal to the green soup. But the thing about the green soup is that the actual actions, like the steps of the recipe, I find to be so unusual and brilliant and very, very simple. And when there's a recipe like that, where it's the work that you do to prepare it is like different and in that way kind of exciting, but then also it's really easy and it's also really delicious, that really, really gets me excited. So here's how it goes. You take a whole head of garlic and you peel all the cloves, but you leave them whole. You don't chop them. And then you put them into a big saucepan with a bunch of olive oil and you cook them over pretty high heat until they start to turn golden, but they don't yet burn. Then you put in a whole bunch of chopped zucchini, like 6 or 8 big zucchinis chopped up into, pretty big old chunks, right? So you put all of that in. And you put it on high heat and you stir it with the garlic and the olive oil and maybe some salt and pepper, and you stir and you cook and you stir and you cook just for 3 or 4 minutes until the zucchinis start to get brown. Then you put in a bunch of, like a whole quart of stock, like vegetable stock if you're vegetarian, or chicken stock if you have some lying around. And then you boil the zucchinis in the stock for another maybe 7 or 8 minutes. So this is like so simple so far, right? Not much chopping, whole cloves of garlic cooked until they soften, which is really fun. And everything's boiling together just until the zucchinis soften, but they're still bright green. Then you take a bag of peas, a bag of frozen peas. I've been doubling the recipe, so I've been using 2 bags of frozen peas, but you take a bag of frozen peas and you pour it in frozen into the boiling stock. And then you mix it in really quickly, like 30 seconds, because you really don't want the peas to cook. So you mix them in and then you immediately dump in like 2 or 3 cups of basil leaves, and then you immediately turn off the stove. So it all happens like very quickly. You immediately turn it off, mix in the basil leaves and the peas, and then you take an immersion blender, which this might be the one prohibitive factor. If you don't have an immersion blender, then you can't really do it. But if you don't, like, maybe you should get one, because you heard it here first, because it's like so useful. Take an immersion blender, stick it in, and you just blitz everything all together. You like blitz the defrosting peas and the fresh basil into the lightly cooked zucchini and these mushy garlic cloves. And you wouldn't, like, then when you taste it, you're like, how does this taste so good? When all I did was that and those were the only ingredients. It's so good. So I will leave that link down below. I've now made it twice in the space of like 10 days and everybody's been loving eating it, even the baby. But if you're going to make it for a baby like I am, go very, very light on the salt, and then you can add salt in later into your own bowl. That's what we've been doing over here. Okay, I have 2 more left, but this one I'll just touch on very quickly because I feel like it's been in my list of what's cheering me up for like the last 2 videos, which is my own playlists. So I've continued to make playlists, and the most recent one is my Shake It Off playlist. Maybe for obvious reasons. It's just been like, there's been so much that needs shaking off. Like we really have been needing to shake it off lately. So I made like a whole Shake It Off playlist, and I've been listening to that one a lot lately, and sometimes we listen to it and like jam out in the kitchen. It just cheers me up. It just does. So it's like very practical, kind of obvious. I mean, I think music cheers a lot of us up. But again, I'll make the playlist public, and I would love it if you'd click through and like you can listen to it too, and it can cheer us up together. That's just been like really delighting me lately to have these playlists that I'm building be shared and like have other people be listening to them. And the last thing on my list is kind of interesting. I mean, it's all it's all endlessly fascinating to me. But I just feel like this is one that might lead to something else. I don't know if I have to talk about it. I don't know if I should talk about it yet, but I've been wearing my dresses more. And I do feel like this is very Julia inspired, and maybe we should do a whole video, or like we should do a video together talking about our like fashion philosophies and the way that we collect clothing and like what we want for ourselves in terms of building a lasting wardrobe. But I have shied away over maybe my the second part so far of my adult life, the second part of my adult life so far, but like my, late 20s, I did wear dresses a lot, obviously, when I danced tango. I mean, that was like a whole big thing. When I was dancing tango a lot, like when I was going out dancing a lot, I was getting dressed up in dresses a lot. I mean, wearing dresses and like feeling good in a dress, it's not like it's no longer part of my identity, or it's not like I've moved away from that. Like that is part of my life and like the way I sort of conceive of my fashion and my closet, and tango really did help evolve that, and it's not like that's gone away. It's just that in casual everyday daily life, like going about my business, doing things, I had evolved into a person for whom a dress feels a little bit too formal, or like not quite the thing for that. And I don't know if it's practical or psychological, or if it's just the dresses that I happen to have. I don't know. Or if it was affected by moving to LA and by like living in downtown, where there maybe is an argument for there being like a bit of more sportswear aesthetic going on in the streets, like sportswear streetwear, or a bit of a maybe like more graphic or hard edged. I don't know, because that's not quite true. You do see a lot of people wearing dresses out and about in LA, but I just have been not really thinking of my couple of day dresses. Like I have this like white linen one with a cinched waist, and that shift dress, the kind of floral pattern, that linen shift dress that I bought with my budget last year. And then there's one kind of like jersey knit column dress that I have. Those are like my three easy to wear day dresses that I can kind of wash and wear in a constant cycle, that I can just throw it on and kind of like be up for anything. And it's just like this one and done house dress, but also it would work if I were going out. I haven't really thought of them as like my staple. Like they haven't been at the center of my wardrobe in practice, even though in theory they're the kinds of garments that could be. In practice, I would just get around to wearing one of them once in a while, and then I would always feel like I had kind of done the most. But Julia, she has many more, not a huge number, but she has more dresses like that than I do, and they are at the center of her wardrobe. And she'll just like rotate through them, wash and wear, wash and wear. They're like just what you put on, and it's almost like watching her do that has made an argument to me that there's something very practical about it. It's like the way that she does it, it feels actually practical and easier and elegant and less fussy sometimes than the outfits I'm putting together of like even like t-shirt and sweatpants, or like a whatever, jeans and t-shirt or something. It's just I've sort of been informed by this like very unfussy, elegant way of incorporating the everyday wearing of dresses. So I then responded by starting to do that. So I've been like wearing those three dresses on constant rotation, and it's just been so lovely. Like I've changed my way of seeing them. I no longer see them as like, here I am in a dress. Instead, I see it like I only had 1 second, so I just threw this on, and now here I am ready to like make dinner, or like take the baby, or like whatever. You know what I mean? Like ready to do my work. So that's just that. It's really been cheering me up. I've really been enjoying it. And the thing that I don't quite know if it is going to happen or not is that it's kind of made me think that I might want to, instead of hanging on to my budget for a couple of months and then like hoping that I manage to save it all, and then like buying something towards the end of the year, or just seeing how it goes, seeing if I get seduced by anything during Black Friday, blah blah blah. I might want to just like pick another dress, one that fits that role, and just consciously expand my dress wardrobe by one, with one really nice dress that costs pretty much the amount that I have left in my budget. That's like starting to seem really appealing to me. So I've been thinking it over, been looking at some dresses, and that has been cheering me up because I feel like the idea of just spending the rest of my budget for the year and then going on a no buy, essentially just being like, it's all gone, can't buy anything else. I actually feel like that would be kind of lovely and kind of a relief. And also it would lock me in to choosing fewer nicer things over nickel and diming the rest of my budget away, because I feel like there's been this question of which one of those two things I'm going to do with the last bit of my budget. And rather than like making myself wait before I decide the second thing, if I do it now, then the decision will be made. And I know that I'm fully capable of sticking to my no buy and not buying anything else for the rest of the year because I did a whole no buy year. So it's like, it's kind of lovely. So there's been this evolution of like my relationship with dresses, and it might evolve me so far that I like end up buying a dress. So stay tuned. Exciting. Not totally sure. Haven't decided yet, but stay tuned. And that is it. Those are the things that have been cheering me up right now. My little nails, my little custom palette, my little green soup, my little dresses, and my little Umbrella Academy, my little playlist. That's it. And my little thinking about how I might spend the rest of my budget. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do not hesitate to let me know what has been cheering you up these days. I always love reading the comments on this particular video because it's so fun to have a what's cheering us up right now fest. Please do put a little message down there. Give us some tips, give us some tricks, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.